Hello, I'm back again. This time I have two particular movies that I have watched recently, wanted to tell you guys about. They're definitely worth a watch. The first is a film called Tyrannosaur. It's a British-made film. It's directed by, Paddy Considine. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, hopefully. Our two main characters are Peter Mullen, he plays Joseph, and Olivia Colman, who plays Hannah. The trailer itself gave me goosebumps, and I knew it was going to be a hard-hitting film, and I needed to be in the right mood to watch it. And I eventually went for it, and I'm very glad I did watch it, but that night was not an easy sleep. If you're a little bit sensitive like myself, I'm very emotionally sensitive, you may find it a little bit distressing to watch. And this brings me to the fact that I didn't think a film could make me cry so soon, more so than when I watched the film Up. This film definitely beat that moment because it had me crying in the first 5 minutes and cautious to even proceed with the film. I knew what I was going to watch was going to be pretty dark, and that's exactly what I had in store, but it wasn't done in a sloppy way. So basically we're introduced to Joseph, although I like the fact that his name is rarely used until sort of the second half of the film. Our main character is clearly dealing with anger and grief from his past, and he ends up in the path of a seemingly very shy but simple Christian lady called Hannah, who runs a charity shop. She is trying to help him, and we find out that she has some demons of her own, and the film progresses from there. It's very typically British, so does what we do best, which is dark, grey and dingy, like the majority of our weather. But it's very similar to the likes of This Is England. I'm a huge fan, and this is sort of similar, however, just the characters maybe on the older scale of things. It contained, I could even go as far to say, the best acting scene I have ever seen. It destroyed me emotionally, but amazed me, and the film in itself has left an impact on me and how I feel about storylines. Any of those who are remotely a fan of the This Is England films, you have to watch it, but I just will say again, despite it being a phenomenal film with some of the best acting I have ever seen, it is definitely not for the faint-hearted. It contains one gnarly storyline, and I'm very glad to have seen the film. It will be on my list of sort of top great films, especially in terms of a storyline and performance. Give it a watch, get the tissues ready, and be prepared with something comical or something to cheer you up afterwards. I hope you enjoy. So Rust and Bone was something that I came across on one of those video on demand programs that you pay for. It was the poster of the film that really captured me. You see this kind of pretty pale girl with a whale in the background, and then obviously some other guy that's part of it, and I just thought, like, what on earth is in this storyline? And I watched the first 10 minutes, heard Bon Iver. For those of you who don't know who Bon Iver is a band. Genre would be melodic indie acoustic. The film follows two separate people's paths coming together, which isn't anything new, certainly not, but it definitely captivates you from the get-go right until the very end. It's essentially a romance, and I don't watch romance. It is the one genre that just can never captivate me. I recently watched at the cinema Crimson Peak. I watched that film because I was a huge fan of Tom Hiddleston. I purely went because I saw that there could potentially have been a bit of a sex scene with Tom Hiddleston. If I'd have known that the film wasn't actually a horror film to do with ghosts, actually a gothic romance, I would not have paid money to go and see it at the cinema. It's probably the first film I've seen which I have actually wanted to walk out of the cinema. And despite the fact that the set design is phenomenal and the colours are beautiful, I mean, it's kind of worth watching if you're into romance, and you'll love it, at least glimpses of it, just to get a sense of the set design in the little world, because it is wonderful. However, yeah, I hated every minute of the film. It was torturous. Oof. Is it normal to like, feel your like bones grinding when you move your head from side to side? I gotta stop cracking my neck, man. Rust and Bone. Yeah, it's a romance, but instead of it being this over-the-top synthetic kind of fairy tale romance, it was more of a true representation of what happens when two people's lives come together and they are dealing with different things in their own lives, and they essentially they form this bond, and the momentum for the film is carried by different events that happens to each of them. And it's quite gritty at times. It made me laugh. It definitely shocked me. The main lady has a bit of an accident, fucking hell. I knew partly that, you know, it was centered around a severe accident that happens to one of the main characters, but we follow him more than we follow her, which I wasn't expecting. But there are certain things that they do together in the film following the accident that really kind of, I don't know, made me think what is able to restrict a person and what should restrict a person. And so it was a very uplifting film, alongside with, you know, a film that made me angry, a film that made me want to cry, a film that had me rooting for its protagonists, I guess. It had fantastic character development, which I absolutely love. I love really good character development, and I was engrossed. I would give anybody, I would say for anybody to watch this film. It might be a bit of a hit and miss, but it is a British film, so you should always support your British films, as well as some really good Bon Iver tracks in there. We've also got Katy Perry's Fireworks, which really tends to sort of emphasize the uplifting moments in the film, and you know, it gave me all the fuzzy feelings and everything alongside it without it being super sickly. So I think they're both films to watch for sure.